The arena smelled like ozone, burnt sugar, and something that reminded Ellie of wet lizards left too long in the sun. Above her, the audience roared in 12 different languages, their cheers twisting into a sound wave so loud it rattled her teeth. Light swept across the tiers of alien bodies, furred, scaled, feathered, and slick-skinned spectators, writhing with anticipation, as the announcer's voice echoed from a floating orb overhead. Ladies, gentlemen, and gelatinous life forms of the greater spiral. It crooned, "Welcome to the hunt." The crowd erupted again. A Krefvor noble, its emerald scales oiled to a blinding sheen, rose in its box seat and snapped its jaws in approval. Nearby, a Zernic broodmother raised her massive chitinous claws and clicked in the battle language of her kind, placing a hefty wager on her own soldiers. Ellie Vance stood in the center of the combat ring, just another hairless mammal in borrowed boots and battered combat fatigues. She held her rifle loose in her hands, head tilted, as if she were listening to something beyond the racket. She wasn't nervous. She never was. Not anymore. Today's prey, the announcer gloated, is none other than Ellie Vance, designated Ghost 6, notorious killer Galactic Rangers on Calyx, for survivor of the Iridium Massacre, and... Ellie spat. The glob hit the dust between her boots. "They're overselling it," she murmured, voice dry. "I only killed 19 of their Rangers, and half of those were by accident." 12 alien soldiers circled her now, 8 species represented. The Krefvor twins were the largest, towering reptilians with jaws wide enough to snap a horse in two. Behind them padded a pair of Valari, translucent psionics pulsing faintly in their gelatinous heads. Insectoid Zernic soldiers flanked them, mandibles twitching as they scuttled side to side. Ellie's thumb brushed the rifle's safety. 2 shots each. 3 for the big ones. Double tap if I don't like their face. The announcer was still talking, drawing out the moment like a carnival barker. "Observe, esteemed guests, the fragile creature Earth dares call a soldier. She breathes ammonia-heavy air and can't even psionically scream. The bookmakers say her odds of survival are 600 to 1. The Krefvor twins hissed and laughed in a rattling language. One gestured at Ellie with its talons, making a slicing motion across its throat. She raised her eyebrows. "Creative?" Her earpiece clicked. "Ghost 6, came a low voice, crisp, controlled. "Male, Reese," she murmured. "They're hunting you for sport. Shame nobody told them I'm hunting them for real." Ellie smirked. "You finally get your hands on their encryption?" "Whole system. Took me 6 hours, and one slightly illegal Earth-made AI. Consider me your guardian angel." She didn't say thank you. Reese Calder wouldn't have expected it anyway. Above, the floating orb began to glow blood red. Let the hunt begin. The arena floor shifted beneath Ellie's feet. Panels retracted to reveal jagged spikes of alien stone and strange glowing moss that hissed when her boots brushed it. Gravity fluctuated erratically, sending small stones floating upward before slamming them back down. The first Zernic soldier lunged. Ellie didn't move. 2 more came from her left, claws raised, mandibles clicking in hunger. Ellie exhaled through her nose, lifted her rifle, and fired. Once. Twice. The sound was muffled in the heavy air, but the result wasn't. The first Zernic crumpled, a clean hole drilled through its forehead. The second's chest erupted in a spray of orange ichor as a slug tore through its carapace. 2 down. 10 to go. The audience went silent for half a second, stunned that she'd drawn first blood, then erupted into louder jeers and laughter. "Oh no," Reese said in her ear, voice flat. "You made them mad." A Krefvor charged, talons gleaming under the arena lights. It moved faster than something that size should, covering the ground in 3 bounding strides. Ellie sidestepped, pulled the trigger. Click. Empty? She cursed under her breath and rolled aside as the reptilian beast's claws slammed into the dust where she'd been standing. The impact sent a shock wave through the ground, knocking her rifle from her hands. "Cute," she muttered, drawing her combat knife. "Guess we're doing this the hard way." The Krefvor bellowed triumph, the sound reverberating through the air. That's when Reese's voice came again, deadly calm. "Ellie, heads up." She dove. A beam of energy cracked overhead, slicing clean through the Krefvor's skull. The alien's bellow turned into a wet gurgle as it toppled forward, smashing into the dust. The crowd gasped. Ellie rolled to her feet and glanced up. High in the arena's scaffolding, hidden from the audience's view, Reese sighted down a sniper rifle the size of a small starship cannon. His mouth twisted into the faintest smile. "One shot," he said. 11 idiots left. Ellie kicked the fallen Krefvor's corpse aside and retrieved her rifle. The Volari were hesitating now, their psionic pulses jittery with what passed for fear in their species. Ellie chambered a round and gave them her best dead-eyed stare. "Come on then," she called up to the stands. "Still think humans are prey?" The arena fell silent, the crowd unsure whether to cheer or run. Above them all, Reese whispered into the comm, "Let's flip the food chain." And this time, Ellie grinned. Ellie Vance had always believed stillness was a weapon. It was the first lesson she'd learned as a sniper. Quiet your breath, slow your heartbeat, and let the world move around you. Out here, in an alien death arena under a sky that shimmered like cracked glass, stillness was all she had left. 12 alien soldiers. 11 now, thanks to Reese. Her scope swept over them like a predator's gaze. Not a human predator, but something older and colder. She watched the Krefvor twins regroup at the edge of a jagged rock formation. They were arguing in low, guttural clicks. One gestured wildly at the fallen brother. Orange ichor still steaming on the dirt. The other shifted uneasily, tail lashing. They were nervous. That was good. Ellie's finger brushed her trigger guard. She wasn't ready to shoot. Not yet. Not until the angle was perfect. Above her, the arena crowds had quieted. Hundreds of alien eyes tracked her, some curious, some predatory. She could almost hear their thoughts. Why isn't she running? Why isn't she panicking? If they'd known anything about her training, they wouldn't have asked. Back on Earth, she'd spent 3 years in the SEAL sniper program. Half that time had been spent learning to disappear in plain sight, blend into a snowy ridge or the slick black rocks of a volcanic island, quiet enough that even the birds forgot she existed. And when she'd fired, one breath, one pull, one kill, there had never been a second shot. Here in the arena, the principles were the same. Gravity shifts, alien terrains, psionic pulses. They were just noise. All noise could be tuned out. "Ghost 6," Reese's voice murmured in her ear. His tone was calm, clinical, but she knew the man well enough to hear the tension underneath. 2 Zernick flanking. 80 meters. Coming in fast. Ellie didn't flinch. "Copy," she whispered. She knelt behind a spire of alien crystal. The rock vibrated faintly under her palm, thrumming with some kind of energy. She adjusted her rifle scope. Fingers nimble despite the slick layer of alien dust coating her gloves. The Zernick soldiers crept closer, claws tapping on stone, mandibles twitching in what she guessed was anticipation. "They think they're stalking me," she thought. Cute. Her scope clicked into focus. She exhaled and squeezed. The first slug tore through the lead Zernick's eye cluster in a burst of green ichor. The second soldier froze, mandibles flaring in surprise. Ellie didn't give it time to recover. She pivoted, fired again. The second slug hit center mass, and the alien folded soundlessly into the dust. 2 more bodies on the ground. 9 left. The crowd roared, not in approval, but in outrage. Above her, the announcer's voice crackled. "A lucky shot. Surely luck can't last. Can it? Esteemed guests." Ellie didn't smile, but her mouth twitched. "Reese, how's my luck?" she muttered. "Better than theirs," Reese replied dryly. "But they're adapting." Krefvor twins switched tactics. One's hanging back, others moving to draw you out. Which one's smarter? Neither. Krefvor don't do smart. They do big and fast. Ellie's lips curved in the faintest hint of amusement. Big and fast bleeds the same. She shifted position, sliding like a shadow between 2 glowing moss patches. The arena's terrain kept changing beneath her feet, gravity warps tugging her sideways, microquakes sending up sprays of sulfurous steam. The Krefvor moved into her line of sight. This one was cautious now. It crouched low, nostrils flaring, tail sweeping back and forth. Its claws flexed in the dust as it searched for her scent. "Come on," Ellie murmured under her breath. One more step. Her rifle tracked its movement, but then the air vibrated, a psionic wave strong enough to make her ears ring. "Valari," she thought. "They've joined the game." A cold, sharp voice slid into her mind. "Run, little human." Ellie's fingers tensed on the rifle. She hated psionics, hated the way they slipped into your skull like oil through cracks. She took a slow breath, forcing her heartbeat steady again. "I'm not little," she thought back, though she wasn't sure if the Valari could hear it. The Krefvor lunged. Ellie fired. The shot slammed through its skull just as its claws swept past her face, close enough for her to feel the air shift. It crashed into the dirt, sending up a cloud of alien spores that glowed faintly red. Ellie rolled away, coughing as the dust stung her throat. "Hey!" Reese's voice came in her ear. Calm, measured, but Ellie could hear the faint edge creeping in now. He was tracking too, lining up his own shots outside the arena. She knew Reese, known him since SEAL training. He didn't waste words or bullets. Every shot he took was precise, surgical, and every time he spoke now, she could feel the restraint in his voice. He wanted to step in fully, to rain fire from above, but he knew she wouldn't allow it. Not yet. This was her fight. The Valari were regrouping now, their translucent bodies pulsing with psychic energy. She could feel their minds brushing hers, testing her thoughts for fear. She gave them nothing. "Reese," she whispered, "I need 5 seconds." "Copy. I'll buy you 10. His rifle cracked. Somewhere above the arena, one of the Valari pulsed violently, then went still. 7. Ellie slid into a shallow depression in the arena floor, knees pressed into the cold dirt. She reloaded her rifle with steady hands. Above her, the crowd was in chaos. Bets were changing hands frantically. The odds had shifted. For the first time, they were no longer laughing at her. Ellie closed her eyes for half a second and let herself feel it, the balance of the hunt tipping. They came here for sport, she thought. Now it's war. The announcer's voice crackled overhead, shrill now, unexpected resistance. But rest assured, our champions will. Ellie tuned it out. She opened her eyes, calm as a sniper lying in the snow. "Reese," she said quietly, "let's show them what humans do when we're cornered." There was a pause. Then Reese's voice, flat as ever. "Copy that. It's predator time." And somewhere above, in the alien scaffolding, another shot rang out. Ellie's breath came slow and measured. Her body coiled like a spring. The arena floor shifted again beneath her boots, gravity surging and collapsing in irregular waves that pulled at her stomach and made her teeth ache. It didn't matter. She adjusted, eyes fixed on the terrain ahead, where jagged alien stone rose like broken teeth and faint blue light leaked from cracks in the surface. 7 left. The announcer's voice warbled through the air like static caught in a blender. "Against all odds, the human persists. But do not fret, dear spectators. Our champions are closing in. The hunt is about to reach its climax." Ellie slid her rifle into position across a low outcropping. Through the scope, she watched 2 Valari float above the arena floor, their psionic pulses rippling in steady waves. They were hunting with their minds now, probing the battlefield, seeking a nervous heartbeat, a flash of panic. They wouldn't find one here. She flicked her rifle to thermal mode. The Valari were cold-blooded, their bodies barely registering in the spectrum. But the faint shimmer of energy at their cores was enough. Ellie exhaled. 1 shot, 1 breath. The trigger clicked, and the first Valari flared bright in her scope before folding on itself, the psionic glow collapsing as its jelly-like body dropped. The second flared in alarm, its pulses spiking erratically. "Reese," Ellie murmured, voice calm. "Already on it," came the reply. A fraction of a second later, the second Valari exploded in a mist of shimmering blue, the report of Reese's rifle echoing faintly from the scaffolding above. 6, he said. Ellie shifted position before the alien soldiers could triangulate her. Her body moved with the precision of habit, boots barely whispering against the crystalline dust. "Your turn, Ghost," Reese murmured. She smiled faintly. "Copy that." A shadow passed overhead. Ellie didn't hesitate. She ducked and rolled as a Krefvor slammed into the ground where she'd been crouched seconds before. The impact sent cracks racing across the arena floor and launched a plume of dust into the air. The Krefvor roared, a guttural sound that made Ellie's chest vibrate. Its claws flexed, dripping with a venom that hissed as it hit the rocks. Ellie didn't flinch. She slid her combat knife free with one hand and her sidearm with the other. Big and fast, she muttered, but not smart. The Krefvor lunged. Ellie pivoted, firing twice into its side as she ducked beneath its swinging tail. The slugs bit deep into scaled flesh, but the alien hardly slowed. Fine. Plan B. As the Krefvor charged again, Ellie dropped low and slashed upward with her blade. The knife's edge bit into the alien's thigh, slicing through muscle and sending it stumbling. She didn't give it time to recover. Ellie rolled behind the beast and fired her last slug into the back of its skull. The Krefvor staggered forward, a low whine escaping its jaws before it toppled. 5, Reese said. Ellie reloaded, her hands steady despite the sheen of sweat starting to bead on her brow. Above, the crowd had grown quiet. No cheers, no laughter. They were starting to understand. Another voice crackled in her ear, this one sharp and panicked. Not Reese. Human, surrender and we may let you live. Ellie's lips twitched. You're negotiating? Now. A Zernik soldier crept into view ahead, its armored carapace reflecting faint arena light. It was smarter than the others. Staying low, mandibles clacking softly as it approached. She didn't wait for it to close the gap. Ellie's rifle barked, and the slug punched through its thorax in a spray of green ichor. 4, Reese murmured. But the remaining Krefvor weren't waiting anymore. They were charging in tandem now, a coordinated move meant to overwhelm her. Ellie didn't retreat. She didn't even blink. Her fingers danced over her rifle's controls, toggling to high-velocity rounds. The first Krefvor swung a massive claw at her head. Ellie ducked, the air hissing past her ears, and fired twice into its exposed belly. It bellowed in pain, but momentum carried it forward. She let it come, stepping inside its swing and driving her combat knife between its ribs with brutal force. It fell, twitching. 3, Reese said, calm as ever. The second Krefvor hesitated. Too late. Ellie's rifle roared, and the alien skull split open like an overripe fruit. 2. The announcer's voice cracked, faltering for the first time. This isn't possible. Humans aren't predators. They're prey. Ellie's voice cut across the comms. Not today. The last 2 soldiers, both Zernik, froze. Their mandibles clicked in unison, a sound almost like fear. Ellie sighted on the first and fired. The slug tore through its chest cavity, sending it spinning. 1. The final Zernik didn't wait. It dropped its weapons and bolted across the arena floor, claws scraping for purchase on the slick stones. Ellie tracked it calmly. Running won't save you. 1 pulled the trigger, and the last alien dropped mid-stride, sliding limply into the dust. 0, Reese said softly. Ellie stood in the center of the arena, the silence pressing in from all sides. Thousands of alien eyes stared down at her. She chambered another round and lifted her head, gaze sweeping over the stunned audience. Anyone else feeling lucky? She called. No one answered. Above her, Reese's voice carried a hint of amusement. Looks like you broke the galaxy's favorite game. Ellie's mouth twitched. About time someone did. And with that, she slung her rifle over her shoulder and walked toward the arena gates. Each step echoed in the vast silence. The hunt was over, but the war was just beginning. Ellie's boots clanged against the cold alloy floor as she strode to the exit tunnel, the distant roar of the arena finally fading behind her. The air in the passage smelled sterile, a sharp contrast to the dust and ichor of the battlefield. She didn't glance back. Not at the broken bodies of the galaxy's finest soldiers, not at the stunned crowds above. Let them choke on their silence. Her rifle rested easy against her shoulder, the barrel still warm. Each step felt heavier than the last, but her face remained calm, unreadable. Inside, though, her muscles hummed, not with fatigue, but with precision, every nerve on edge, waiting for the next move. Ellie. Reese's voice came soft in her ear, edged with a tension he almost managed to hide. Almost. Alive and walking, she murmured. Hell of a show. You made them scared. They should be, she said flatly. She stepped into a dim antechamber, light panels flickering overhead. A maintenance drone hovered uncertainly in the corner, unsure if it should approach. Ellie ignored it, her eyes locked on the shadows ahead, senses stretched taut. Reese was moving too. She could hear faint rustling through the comms, his breathing shallow as he shifted position somewhere above the arena's scaffolding. Security teams are mobilizing, he said. Looks like they're still figuring out what the hell just happened. They're slow, Ellie replied. Arrogance does that. There was a faint chuckle on his end. Ready for extraction? I'm walking to you now. Ellie paused at a junction where the passage split into three. The faint hum of power conduits pulsed under her boots. Somewhere in the walls, a psionic relay buzzed, a signature of the Valari's communication tech. She knelt and ran a gloved hand along the cold plating, fingers brushing a faint seam. Reese, she said, they've got trackers in here, cutting through relays. You've got 2 minutes before they triangulate. Plenty. She stood and adjusted her rifle strap, the silence pressing heavier now, the kind that always came before chaos. Above her, the galaxy was reeling. The hunt had been more than blood sport. It was a demonstration of power, a reminder to the lesser races of their place in the spiral. Humans were supposed to be harmless, quaint even, entertaining prey at best. And now, they'd seen a woman stand alone against 12 of their elite and leave them in the dust. Ellie didn't care about their politics or their fear, but she understood what came next. Weapons checks. Reese's voice interrupted her thoughts. Full, Ellie said. Rounds? Enough to get us out alive. Good. A brief silence stretched between them, filled only by the faint crackle of the comms. Then Reese's tone changed, softened in a way that startled her. You know this doesn't end here, right? Ellie's jaw tightened. I know. They'll send more. Bigger. Meaner. Council will have a collective meltdown when they replay what you just did. I'm counting on it. Reese didn't answer immediately. She could imagine him now, perched in the shadows with his rifle balanced on his knee, eyes scanning for threats, the faint scar across his cheek catching the glow of some alien light. You always had a thing for impossible odds, he said finally. Ellie's lips twitched. Keeps me sharp. A sudden metallic screech cut through the tunnel, echoing off the walls. Ellie dropped to a crouch instinctively, rifle snapping up, movement at the far end. Her scope flared. 3 heat signatures, large, fast. Contact, she said. Copy, Reese replied. The first figure emerged, a Zernic soldier, its chitin cracked and streaked with fresh repairs. Behind it, a Krethvor lumbered into view, claws scraping the alloy floor. A psionic hum vibrated the air as a Valari floated forward, glowing faintly blue. They're sending in a cleanup squad, Reese said. Ellie didn't answer. She was already moving. Her first shot cracked the tunnel's stale air, punching through the Zernic's thorax. It collapsed in a heap, legs twitching. The Krethvor charged. Ellie sidestepped, pivoting around a support beam. The alien's claws gouged deep furrows in the floor, where she'd been a heartbeat earlier. She fired twice, once into its knee, once into its throat. The Krethvor stumbled, gurgled, and fell with a crash that rattled the walls. The Valari pulsed violently, sending a psionic wave that slammed into her skull like a hammer. Ellie gritted her teeth, forced her breath steady. Focus. Count. Find the center. 1 step forward. 2. She lined up her shot and fired. The slug tore through the Valari's core, and its psionic scream died in an instant. 3 down, she muttered. You're clear to me, Reese said. Tunnel ahead should lead straight to the launch bay. Ellie started moving again, boots striking the floor in a steady rhythm. Her body felt electric, every muscle coiled tight, but her mind was calm. Focused. The galaxy had called her prey. She was about to teach them what prey could do. The tunnel opened into a vast hangar, rows of alien ships glowing under harsh white lights. Reese dropped from a catwalk above, landing in a crouch like a ghost made flesh. His rifle rested easily in his hands, the faintest smile tugging at his mouth. "Miss me?" Ellie raised an eyebrow. "You took your time." He shrugged. "Didn't want to steal your spotlight." Together, they moved toward a sleek interceptor at the far end of the bay. Alarms were starting to blare now. High, frantic tones that echoed to the hangar like 1,000 angry insects. "They're coming," Reese said. "They're too late." They reached the ship. Reese slid into the pilot's seat, fingers flying across the alien controls as Ellie took the gunner station. The engines rumbled to life. Ellie spared one glance back at the hangar entrance. Dozens of soldiers were pouring in now, weapons raised, faces twisted in fear and fury. She sighted down the gun controls. "Let's give them something to remember us by," she said. Reese grinned. "You always know how to make an exit." The ship roared off the platform, engines screaming as it tore free of the station's gravity. Behind them, alarms blared louder. And across the galaxy, news feeds were already spinning stories of a human woman who had broken the unbreakable hunt. A sniper who'd turned the predators into prey. Ellie sat back in her seat, gaze fixed on the star-streaked void ahead. "This isn't over," Reese said softly. "No," Ellie replied. "It's just starting." And for the first time in years, she allowed herself a small, sharp smile. The galaxy had no idea what was coming.